Hi friends, Randy Ost here, and I am going to be giving you a quick introduction to the Emulsify UI Kit, the beta version that we've launched at DrupalCon Pittsburgh 2023. So this is me going through the lightning talk that I gave at DrupalCon, but turning it into a video so that we can have a recording of it. So what we're going to talk about today is, well, first, a little bit about me. I'm the creative director at Four Kitchens. You can find me everywhere on the internet as Amazing Rando. But let's talk about Emulsify. So if you haven't heard of Emulsify, what Emulsify is it is a open source tool set to create design systems for Drupal or honestly any website. So what it does is it combines things like storybooks, some configuration that we want, pulls in a bunch of random things to make your life easier. Basically, the analogy that I like to tell people is that when you're making cookies from scratch, you can either collect up all of the ingredients and do it yourself, or maybe a friend gave you one of those nice jars that has all of the flour and sugar and baking soda inside of it, and all you have to do is supply your own egg. Both of them are being made from scratch, but the difference is that someone has handed you a convenient jar of everything already sized out. And that at its heart is what Emulsify is. So we started Emulsify years ago when Atomic Design came on the scene because we wanted a component library. We wanted to be able to display it, interact with it, and do all of that wonderful like component work. Let me just move there we go. Yeah, so we wanted a component-based like product experience. Then let's see. We also wanted to make sure that we were creating a fully customized Drupal theme from scratch. What we did not want to do was have something that was going to be cookie cutter or something that was going to make everything look the same. We wanted to make sure that all of the work that we've done is bespoke for the client and tailored to the client's purpose. So what we've done recently is, so design tokens are a fantastic new thing. Well, relatively new. They're a couple of years old. And what design tokens are is design tokens are a small little design decision. So it's kind of like creating a I'm trying to think, color primary lighter, font decisions, typographical decisions, spacing decisions. All of those things are codified as design tokens. And so we create a system with those tokens. We create a palette with those tokens, and that then helps represent the digital brand, and it gives us a lot of options to work with. So what we've done with the Emulsify UI Kit, what we wanted to do was bring the work that's being done by designers in Figma and attach it and make it interoperable with the work that front-end engineers are doing inside of code. So I'm going to actually jump over here. So this is Figma. And in the Figma community, if you search for the Emulsify UI Kit beta, you'll get access to the file that we're going to go through. And this is the Emulsify UI Kit. This is the Figma component of it. There is also a code component of it as well. And we'll get to that a little bit later in this video. So what we have in here is we have some example pages. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see I have an example home page, like program page and basic page, kind of showing off some of the components that we have inside of the UI kit. And then off to the side, we've got a series of tokens. So for instance, we can see the different sizing tokens and spacing tokens. And these are set up so that if these values change, if the designer decides that spacing small should be 5 pixels instead of 4, it will dynamically change everywhere that's using spacing small to be 5 pixels, and it will also update the number here to the number 5. That way we've got a little bit of kind of self-documenting Figma files. So going through, we just have like breakpoints, we've got different kinds of opacity, we have typography, so we've got some giant sizes. We also have some components. Let's see, so we've got an accordion here that's kind of pre-made with hover and open and close states. We also have breadcrumbs so that you can choose how many levels of breadcrumbs you want and have a hover. Let's see, what else do we have here? We've got a main menu. So that we've got like something that can, be put in very quickly, and you can make your changes. And this is all to help designers make, build a design system for a client. Now, where the magic happens is there is a plugin inside of Figma called Token Studio. So Token Studio is where the magic happens. Okay, so inside of Figma, here, I'm going to move my video again. In Figma, we can define text styles, color styles, and effect styles, but we can't do so in a way, or at least as robustly as Token Studio for Figma does. Now, what we're able to do here is we can set up our tokens, and the strategy that we've used for the Emulsify UI Kit is to have global styles, semantic styles, and then per component styles. And what that means is here in global, we're kind of creating the palette. These are all the elements of the brand. So for instance, we've got our sizing systems, we've got our color systems. So we've got like a whole host of Emulsify blues and some grays. We've got border sizes, opacities, and this is all a palette that can be used inside of the design system. Now, the next level up that what we do is we call semantic. And in the semantic, this is where we define things like color primary, the text color for body and headings, the link color, link hover color, font family for body and for headings, as well as additional things that are to come. And this allows us to kind of rely on tokens like color primary and text body color as dependable resources for the other level of tokens that we have, which is on a per component level. So for instance, if we were to go to, let's see, I'm going to pick a good one here, or at least I'm going to try. I'm going to pick main menu. So here in main menu, we have a selection of colors here. And what we're doing is like the drop down color, this background that's here, we're defining it as a token. And inside of the token, let's go ahead and edit this. We are actually referencing the semantic token. So there are curly brackets here, and using curly brackets allows us to reference other colors or other design tokens. So what we're telling it is that we want colors primary lighter to be the background color for this. And what that means is that as the designer goes into the semantic tokens and makes changes, those changes are then reflected across the site. So let's change color primary. Let's go ahead and edit this token. Right now we're referencing Emulsify blue. We're going to actually change this to just red. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. Now, when I hit save, what we're going to see is that everywhere color primary is used is turning red. Now, part of that is that our lighters and darkers here are being defined, are being processed. So for instance, here this darker is being darkened via HSL color space by 0.4. You can, if you prefer, you can actually like make these references to specific colors. Like primary darker could have been Emulsify 800 because the original color primary was Emulsify 600. So whatever works for you. We also have, let me go ahead and move my little video over again. We've got these example pages here that we can see everything being changed. Now, occasionally you may have to hit the apply to page button just because this is a plugin. And so you can see here we are getting all of our, all of the color primaries are coming through the way that we expect it to. So this is great for designers, but how do we do this? How do we connect this with developers? Can developers just come and grab this? Well, the nice thing is that this token this widget plugin, it stores everything as JSON. Okay, and what we can do is we can actually push and pull from GitHub. Now, I know there may be some concerns about designers pushing to GitHub, but the best thing to do is to just create a branch called Figma. Designers push to that Figma branch, and you don't have to worry about them making any mistakes or messing with the code. So let's go ahead and hop over. Oh, shouldn't see that. All right. So let's hop over to the code. This is the Emulsify repository. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I have the tokens currently dropping here into this subfolder, into this file called figma.tokens.json. Now, you can drop this file wherever you want it, and you can name it whatever you want. So, however you have your workflow set up, that can be modified very easily. And in here, we've got JSON. Now, one thing that you may notice is that we have some values that are hard-coded. For instance, this spacing small has a value of 4. Well, the medium size of spacing references spacing small times 2, and the extra small references spacing small divided by 2. Now, that makes this data not really usable in its current format, and that's okay because Token Studio provides a transformer that whenever you run it as part of a script, it will take all of those calculations and it will render it with all of the final results. So we get 2, 4, and 8 for our spacing sizes instead of, an algebraic equation. Now, you see here we also have hex colors. If you'd much rather work in RGB or HSL, those are things that can be changed and modified as we process these files. Now, this file right here, this JSON file, needs a second transformation generally in order to be useful within systems. And what we do is we use style dictionary. Okay, we have this tokens transform JS that runs, and it uses style dictionary. And Style Dictionary, made by Amazon, if you are unaware, allows you to take tokens, design tokens, in a JSON format and render it out and do transforms to it. So what we're doing here is we're taking all of the design tokens, and we're doing a couple of custom renders. So we want to change all of the pixels to rem values, and sometimes we need to append a pix value or a px or a pixel to the end. And so what we do is we tell it these kinds of tokens need to be rendered with pixel to rem, and then we make the transformation, and then we spit out the file. So what comes out the other end there is, in our instance, we have it set up to render for us a tokens.sass file that uses CSS custom properties or CSS variables. And that allows us to have all of the things that we need for all of the design tokens that are called for. So for instance, let's go take a look for some buttons. Here we go. So here is the components, the design tokens for the button component. And we have color background, background hover, and background focus. And all of these are rendering out the specific values that were referenced inside of the Figma file. Now, if a designer decides to change what the hover value is, all they have to do is change that value in Figma, push the JSON to the repository. The repository runs a custom action that spits out a re-rendered tokens.sass file for us, and there just needs to be a review before the code gets merged to make sure nothing wrong is happening. And this allows front-end engineers to skip creating all of these things themselves and get straight into using and applying them. So that's wonderful. So let's take a look at how this is used inside of the component itself. So the button component, here we have the button sass file, and inside of the button sass file we have some pretty basic defaults so that we're not kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And we have applied the design tokens so that it will look as much like the designs as possible out of the box. So for instance, for padding, we have a padding Y and a padding X value because typically buttons have more padding on the sides than they do on the top and bottom. We've got the background color here applied, and then on hover we've got the background color hover applied, and we've got again, like I said, we've got some sensible design token decisions that are being made here. The UI kit presently, we are focusing on using design tokens for colors, for spacing, and for typography. To keep it generally limited. We're also trying not to go, too crazy by defining a bunch of design tokens. We don't want it to be too many, and we don't want it to be too few. So, for instance, like border radius here, we've got just set as one value because most of the time the buttons are going to have the same border radius on all four sides. If they require a custom sides on like either the X or the Y axis, or just one particular, or there are four different ones, the front end engineer can come in and make that modification. So this is how we have all of this set up with the UI kit. And if there need to be changes within the system, the front-end engineer can actually go back to the original tokens file. So Figma tokens.json. This is the one that, if you'll remember, has the algebraic equations. And if there is a change, then they can make this change. And when they save this file and push it to the repository, the Token Studio plugin in Figma will pick that up, and the designer will be able to pull those changes into their repository and get them. And so that allows us to have a two-way connection between design and code, which is absolutely astounding. I say that as a designer and a former front-end engineer, which is pretty cool. Also, let's see, I'm going to go here. So this is the storybook instance of the Emulsify UI Kit. We have it broken down into tokens and components, just to kind of keep things simple. You, of course, can use whatever organization strategy you like. If you like the chemistry model, the atoms, molecules, and so forth, go for it. But we also have here in the repository, we are building out those pages that we saw in Figma earlier as sample pages. That way, whenever the designer pushes to the repository, we already have some example pages up, and we've got some pretty quick look and feels. Also, just to kind of talk through it, when we have these design tokens here, this is actually looping over the JSON file that is rendered to pull the name, the border radius, and what the design token is, and it will dynamically add it here to the list. That way, all of the design tokens for border radius are collected here. All of the font sizes are collected here and also displayed. Same with like line heights. Everything just loops over it, and we do that so that it can be. That you don't have to create your own. You can manage the presentation of this however you'd like, but it's there for everyone to enjoy. And so that, my friends, is the Emulsify UI Kit. And so I really appreciate you taking some time to sit with me today, and I look forward to your questions and comments. This is an open source project, so if you'd like to contribute, please reach out, and we'll get things started. Thank you so much.